I asked AI to build my first $1,000 ETF portfolio. ChatGPT gave me a clean allocation with US ETFs. Claude asked a few questions, then built a polished three-fund portfolio. And Perplexity started moving towards Spain, UCITS ETFs, emergency funds, and local constraints. At first, the answers looked useful, but the real lesson was not which AI picked the best portfolio. The real lesson was this. When you ask AI a vague investing question, it may give you a confident answer before it knows the things that actually matter. This is educational content only. It is not financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This is not a pure model battle. Perplexity can use different underlying models, and every AI tool has different settings, memory, and search behavior. So I am testing this as a workflow. ChatGPT is the framework builder, Claude is the visual explainer, and Perplexity is the research scout. The question is not, which AI should I blindly trust? The question is this: how do we use AI without letting it make financial assumptions for us? The first prompt was intentionally simple. I have $1,000 and I want to start investing in ETFs. Build me my first portfolio. This is the kind of question a beginner might actually ask. And that is exactly why it is risky. Because it sounds simple, but it hides the most important variables: country, tax residency, account type, ETF availability, currency, fees, and whether this money can really stay invested for the long term. ChatGPT started with a genuinely good idea. It said that the biggest advantage is not finding the perfect ETF. It is building a simple structure you can keep adding to consistently. That is a good principle. But then it moved quickly into a portfolio. US total market, international stocks, technology or growth, and bonds. The examples included VTI, VOO, VXUS, QQQM, and BND. The problem is not that these are automatically bad examples. The problem is that the AI gave specific US-listed ETF examples before asking where the investor lives, what account they use, or whether those ETFs are even available. And there was another important detail. It referenced previous context about aggressive crypto investing. That makes the answer feel more personalized, but it also means the answer may be shaped by old context and old bias. AI can sound smarter when it knows more about you, but it can also amplify assumptions you did not mean to use. Claude behaved better at first. Instead of immediately giving a portfolio, it asked a few questions. What is the goal? How would I react if the portfolio dropped? What exposure am I looking for? That is already a better pattern. Then it built a clean three-fund portfolio. VTI for US stocks, VXUS for international stocks, BND for bonds. The visual was excellent. It was simple, clear, and easy to understand. But a beautiful chart is not the same as a complete investment process. Claude still did not fully solve the country problem. It still moved into US-listed ETFs and even mentioned Fidelity or Schwab as the simple brokerage path. For a US investor, that may be normal. For a global viewer, it is not enough. So Claude was better than ChatGPT in behavior, but it still needed a human check. Perplexity was different. It also asked questions first: age, goal, risk level, whether the money might be needed soon. Then, after more profile details, it moved toward a more cautious framework. It talked about emergency funds. It mentioned UCITS ETFs. It started thinking in euros, and it separated the idea of a portfolio from the practical question of what you can actually buy. That is the strength of using Perplexity here. It behaves more like a research assistant. But even then, anything current like broker rates, ETF availability, tax rules, or platform details still has to be verified manually. AI is not your tax authority, and it is not your broker's live fee schedule. Here is the first pattern. The vague prompt invited AI to become a portfolio picker. ChatGPT moved fastest. Claude asked some useful questions, then still moved into US examples. Perplexity did the most work around constraints, but still needed verification. So the issue is not that AI gives useless answers. The issue is that a vague prompt lets the AI decide which assumptions matter. And in investing, assumptions are not small details. They are the foundation. Then I changed the prompt. This time, I did not ask AI to simply build the portfolio. I told it, before suggesting any portfolio, list the assumptions you need to know. Separate US examples from non-US or global examples. Do not assume the investor can buy US listed ETFs. Mention taxes, account type, ETF availability, ETF domicile, currency, fees, and local regulation. And include a human verification checklist before acting. That changed the job. The better prompt did not magically find the perfect ETF. It made the AI ask better questions before talking about ETFs. With the better prompt, all three tools improved. ChatGPT became much more of a decision framework. It listed goals, time horizon, risk tolerance, emergency fund, debt, country, account type, currency, ETF access, and broker availability. Claude became the clearest visual explainer. It made the location problem very obvious. The same $1,000 strategy looks different for a US investor, a European investor, or someone in another market. And Perplexity became strongest around practical constraints: tax residency, broker access, KID documents, UCITS, account types, and local rules. This is the real workflow. Not ask AI what to buy. Ask AI what must be true before buying anything. This was the clearest visual from the whole test. For a US investor, the example used US domiciled ETFs like VTI, VXUS, and BND. For a non-US or global investor, the example shifted toward UCITS ETFs, Ireland domicile, accumulating share classes, and different fund examples. That is not a cosmetic difference. It can affect access, taxes, dividend withholding, reporting, currency exposure, and whether the broker can even offer the product to you. For example, EU retail investors are generally restricted from buying many US listed ETFs when the required PRIPS or KID document is not available. So if an AI answer gives you US tickers immediately, that might be fine for a US viewer. But for a global viewer, it is only the beginning of the research, not the end. So here is the system I would actually use. Use ChatGPT to build a framework. Ask it to organize the decision: goal, time horizon, risk, account type, and contribution plan. Use Claude to explain and visualize the trade-offs, especially when you need a clean comparison like US versus non-US examples. And use Perplexity as a research scout. Ask it to surface local constraints, official terms, regulation issues, and questions to verify. But before copying any AI portfolio, the human checklist comes first. Tax residency, account type, ETF access, domicile and currency, fees and official fund facts, and personal fit, emergency fund, debt, risk tolerance, and time horizon. If any one of those is unclear, pause before acting. The best AI answer was not the one with the prettiest portfolio. It was the one that made the hidden assumptions visible. So my rule is simple. AI should not choose the ETF for you. AI should help you ask the questions that come before the ETF. That is how you turn AI from a risky shortcut into a useful financial research system. In the next video, we will build the actual AI Money OS, the dashboard, the prompts, the weekly workflow, and the human checks that keep the system from becoming dangerous. Educational content only, not financial, investment, legal, or tax advice.